TYFU.
Hi, Marilla.
Hello, Beth. Are you feeling grounded?
I've just centered myself, stretched.
Both feet on the floor. Mm-hmm. Are they bare feet?
No, they are not. They're
All right.
Adidas feet.
That's a different
Oh, wait,
podcast.
is that a commercial? Did I just do a commercial for Adidas?
I hope so. Maybe we'll start making some money.
I know. Yeah, we're going to have to monetize this thing eventually, but that's
true.
down the road. That's down the road. Right now, we're just doing it for the joy of it.
It's true. Mm-hmm. The giggles.
The giggles.
If you will.
And there we go, giggling again.
Right on cue. Oh, man.
What do you want to talk about this week?
Well, we should probably come up with something because we're back in the studio. And thankfully, this time, there isn't a chubby little envelope on the table. Mm-hmm. But before that,
we've got some business.
Some business.
Yeah, light business.
Light business, very quick.
Yep, fun business. And that is to acknowledge the very kind comments that are coming in to us regarding different episodes on Spotify.
On Spotify.
Yes. What a little charge we get when we read a good review.
Oh,
I know. It's just so delightful.
I mean, it's cute, but it's also, I'm like, oh, we're so funny.
And someone else thinks so.
And somebody else thinks so. Yeah. In all seriousness, it's very validating to know that you folks are enjoying it. And it makes me feel like doing more podcasts.
Yeah, I know.
Frankly.
It keeps us coming back, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another avenue that you can sing our praises on Spotify, which we just recently discovered.
Yeah, and did you notice that there might be someone from overseas that and we've cracked this mystery
because we're detectives.
Right. Just like Sherlock Holmes would have spelled favorite.
Indeed.
We just had a horse and buggy go by. I don't know if we'll leave that in the episode, but
horse go by.
on a main street in the city of Geneva, New York. That's a horse clomping.
Yep, that's a horse clomping. We're always worried about the background noise and the work that Kelly Walker is going to have to put in to editing these episodes. And we think about dogs barking, and we think about doors slamming, birds chirping.
Uh-huh. But I didn't bet on a horse.
I didn't bet on the horse and buggy. But you know what? That is the reality.
That's part of the podcast game, isn't it?
That's
you never
showbiz.
know. Yeah, that's showbiz. But what were we talking about? I was talking about Sherlock Holmes and how he spells favorite. Favorite.
Yes. And because of that, we have deducted that one of our...
Is it deduced?
Deduced. We've deduced.
I don't know. Maybe we've deduced and deducted.
You're the one who sells books.
Okay.
You're supposed to know this.
We figured out that...
We figured out.
Maybe one of the people who left us a kind remark was... International. So I think that makes us international superstars now.
Yes.
Yeah. Or maybe it was just somebody who wanted to be classy. Yeah.
I'd like to think that it was someone in London curled up listening to our podcast. So if that was you, then we love you and please invite us to your house.
You had something happen to you since we met last. You had something major happen in your life.
Oh, yeah. I opened the second location of my
your second
business.
location. That's right.
How could I
That's
forget?
right. And we talked about that last episode.
Yes. So everyone who listened to our conversation with Jim Hogan in episode 7, well, I did go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I went ahead and opened.
Great.
I decided not to listen to anyone. And I scheduled the grand opening with a ribbon cutting, which I had never done before.
There's like pomp and circumstance that goes with a ribbon cutting, right?
Yes.
And hoopla and hype. And
it feels like... I felt like I had to get permission from someone to do a ribbon cutting, but then I was like, I can just do this.
Actually, I'm the boss.
I'm the boss. I can just do a ribbon cutting. And I thought about if there's any rules, and you just have to cut the ribbon.
A certain kind of pair of scissors, or a certain kind of like, do you use something like a machete or some kind of like sword, samurai sword?
Pair of scissors.
Really? Do you have a special ribbon that you have to kind of use? Okay.
It was blue.
Because it's the Marilla's blue?
I tried.
Yeah.
It was close. So I got the scissors, I got the ribbon, and I was really concerned that I was going to forget the scissors.
Scissors. Well, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't
Right.
it? That would be terribly, terribly embarrassing.
And I tend to have these moments where I just forget very crucial things, and I wasn't going to let that happen. So I had the scissors, and I even on our social media for the store told our followers, nobody let me forget the scissors.
Cool.
And I had a customer even message me like the day before the grand opening, very sweet. And they were like, can't wait for you. We're so excited for you. Don't forget the scissors. Haha. And made me laugh. Loved it.
So did you remember the scissors?
I did.
Okay, great.
I did. I remembered the scissors. I remembered the ribbon.
You remembered to invite the press. So you had news crews there.
did.
And
I invited the press.
Yeah.
I had my mother there. I had Kelly Walker there.
at least 50 customers, maybe more, maybe.
There were about 50 people lined up at the start. We were going to do little door prizes. So my whole mission for this grand opening was to be like, Marilla's too is like, Marilla's a little grown up. Like, because it is. And I wanted it to be a little more sophisticated and a little more like
more polished. And, urban, because you're going to the big
we were
city
going to the
now
big
instead of the little
city, and
city. You're going to go to the big city.
Yeah. So I had all this in my head, and I had done all these little things that I didn't do with our first one because I just felt like it should be a big splash. And so I had our door prizes, we had a line, we had the press, we had the ribbon, we had the scissors. Oh, we even had like city officials there. And I went out, I gave a spiel, and we even counted down.
I mean, that's an important part.
4, 3,
up
2,
the excitement level.
Cut the ribbon, and everybody cheered.
Yep. And then what happened?
I'm not going to tell you yet.
I know what happened. And and it is the stuff of nightmares. Absolutely. It is the stuff of nightmares.
That is why we're going to sit on that story and we're going to keep it and we're going to tell you next month.
Yeah. In a special episode next month.
In a very special episode next month.
But we mention it now, we kind of tease it out a little bit now because it does relate to this week's topic.
Yes.
In a sense. And this week's topic is, ready for the envelope?
Let's do it.
Okay.
You want to read it or you want me to read it? Collect yourself, Beth.
Sorry. I fell asleep for a second there. Are we still recording a podcast?
It took me.
Okay.
Took me a while to rip that one.
Read it.
Sorry, I got you, Beth. And this one is in quotes.
Okay.
Quote, "It must be nice to be your own boss." Unquote.
Right. Okay. In fact, it is. In fact, it is nice to
It's
be
so
your own
nice.
boss.
Yeah, actually, no complaints.
Yeah.
Nope. 0 complaints.
We chose it.
Yep. We want it.
Yep.
We can do
Wouldn't
whatever
change
we
a
want.
thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I feel like people say it condescendingly.
Oh, God. It is such a loaded statement that I have heard probably. I mean, could you even count?
I can't. I'm
couldn't
trying to
even
do the
count.
math. I'm sitting here trying to calculate. Like, I've got a pad of paper. Hold on. Let me just do some.
Yeah, wait. We're going to pause for some math.
Yeah. I don't know. Innumerable times.
Absolutely innumerable times. And I'm trying to decide if I've heard it more from customers or more from my close friends and family. And I think it's my friends and family. Sorry to put you guys on blast, but
They don't listen anyway.
but yeah, I feel like it's something when you have your own business that comes up very often, that you say something about how, I have to do this or I have to do that. Or maybe, I think for me, perhaps it's more like, I'm going to do this. Like maybe I'm going camping with a friend on a weekend.
Or like a
maybe I'm
normal
going
person
on
might be having a
vacation.
weekend away.
Oh, right. Something like that. And somebody would be like, must be nice to be your own boss. And it just,
Must be nice to get paid vacation. What's that like?
Yeah.
You know, like
I don't know why it makes me prickle so much, but immediately I prickle. And like on the outside, now at this point, I just laugh it off.
You'd be
But
like, damn straight.
Inside, yeah, there's just a part of me that feels like I have to like defend myself or prickle, and I'm not sure exactly what that is about.
All right. Well, we're here to unpack it, Marilla.
Thank God. She's been carrying it around.
I think maybe I feel a judgment in it somehow.
Yes.
Like,
why?
I think because people are under the impression that we just do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. We don't have to answer to anybody. We don't have a schedule except the one that we make up on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, people see business owners and they assume that there's a certain amount of privilege that goes with that and entitlement. And I'm not saying that there aren't benefits
Right.
and there aren't like
Right.
real amazing
Perks.
wonderful perks to owning your own business. I don't want to like sound like whiny.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. Not at all. There's a reason we chose what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, I think that people just assume that you know.
We've made it. We're living the good life.
Yes, I know. And
And it doesn't feel
It doesn't
like
feel
that
like
all
that.
the time. It doesn't feel like we're even our own boss sometimes all the time. I don't know about you, but I don't always feel that way.
I think that one great irony is that if I'm running my business well, it looks like it's seamless. It
Right.
looks, if I am having, like we said earlier in a different episode, if the back room is on fire, I am never, ever going to let anybody know that if I can help it.
Right.
So it's like I actively try to make it look like no problems
Super
here.
easy.
I'm succeeding in business.
Yeah.
You know? And then whenever you do start to talk about the stresses or the problems or the lack of sick leave or the lack of paid vacation or the lack of
Insurance.
anything, the lack of anything, like you do have to confront the fact that we chose this life.
Yeah.
So there's no whining allowed,
Right.
because we chose this life.
Right. And it's all on us. Like, so I guess maybe in a sense, it's like, it must be nice to be the boss when you're being a good boss to yourself. It is nice to be the boss, but it's not necessarily nice to be the boss when you're not being a good boss to yourself. When you're not giving
when you're
yourself
working
time.
yourself like a dog.
You're working
You're
yourself like
this
a dog.
woman is a real piece of work. I can't stand working for her.
Yeah, right. There's like this identity crisis you have.
I know.
Maybe that's it, because you know, it's just, there's layers to it, and sometimes there's moments where I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. You know, I can go and get myself a coffee and tip tap on my computer and feel like a very successful,
I'm going to
awesome
check my social media
business
right
owner.
now, my
Yeah.
personal one and not my business one. And I don't care if it's 11:15 in the morning.
and I'm at my store.
I know.
But then on the other hand, there are times when I'm in the basement shop vacuuming like water and there's like slush that I don't know what
great.
it is.
It's great to be the boss.
And I'm like, man, my boss really sucks.
I know. I have this thing that
They
I
could just-
hardly like. Very rarely do I ask an employee to do something gross.
Yeah.
Because I feel so guilty about it. And I think to myself, if I don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. So
Right.
I'm going to be the one who's like cleaning the spider eggs out of the corner, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
I'm going to be the one scrubbing the toilet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I hear you.
Maybe it's because we're bad bosses. Like we don't know how to delegate.
Haley, I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, you have her clean the toilet? Oh my gosh, you're terrible.
No, I just mean I'm an evolving boss. I'm a baby boss. I'm learning. But I'm the same way for the most part. If it's something truly unpleasant, I at least make sure I do it a number of times before I ask somebody else to do it, because I just think it's important to set that precedent. But to bring it back to must be nice to be your own boss, I think it just implies that I think it just implies that you can do whatever you want.
I hear you're spoiled, you're entitled, you don't really work.
Yeah. And why? I don't know if that's insecurity on my part, but like, but that's how it feels. That's how it feels. And really, at the end of the day, it's my customers who are my boss.
Oh, every single one of them.
Every single one of them.
We have thousands of bosses. That's how I think of them.
That's so true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because for that customer that messages you, outside of business hours, you have to decide whether you're going to set a boundary with that boss or if you're going to you're going to answer the email. I think that's what I always think about. Like, no, actually, the person saying that is usually my boss.
Yes.
Maybe I'm going to start saying that to all of you who say that to me. No, you're my boss. Can I have a day off?
How about you just stop coming on Tuesdays?
Yeah, I like that.
I'd like to take that day off to go on my yacht and drink my martinis and eat my whatever.
Bonbons. It's always bonbons.
Is it always bonbons? I want to eat something
I always
different.
think of bonbons,
I'm so sick of bonbons as the boss. I eat so many bonbons. Like, just bonbon out.
Boring.
I know.
Please bring us bonbons. Oh my God.
I literally do not know what a bonbon is. Do you? It's some kind of...
It's in the Nutcracker.
Well,
that's all I got. So maybe someone should bring us one. Maybe my boss should bring me a bonbon.
Donut of some sort?
I don't know. I know someone who probably could tell us what a bonbon is. My new neighbors at Hedonist Chocolate. So let's ask them.
My name is David. I'm the manager over at Hedonist Chocolates. We're right across the street from Marilla's wonderful shop. And it's also my first time I get to be in here, and it is beautiful.
Thank you, David. I didn't pay him to say that. David, what is a bonbon?
That's such a great question that I myself was actually kind of trying to discover the difference. So I was doing a little bit more research, and a bonbon can encompass so much other chocolates. So it could be anything that is just covered in chocolate that's candy. So it can have that soft, gooey center. It can be a truffle. It's French, so all those French pastry chefs and all those would kind of like surround those sweet things in chocolate. So we sell mostly truffles, which is that soft ganache chocolate cream center.
Yeah.
Whereas a bonbon can be a truffle, but it can also be that gooey, like liquor-filled caramel, all those types of delicious things.
Interesting. So a truffle can be a bonbon, and also it's a little interchangeable for just chocolate-covered goodness.
Chocolate-covered sweet candy goodness.
Interesting. All right. So now we actually know what we're snacking on when we're kicking back and relaxing. Thank you, David. Thank you for that insight. Is there ever a season that you notice you get it more often than not? Is there something that prompts it from customers or family members or, whatever? Because I am thinking about, is there a pattern? Is there something that I talk about or say that brings it on?
Okay. I've got, an idea, but it's not exactly the angle that you were coming at it from. But sometimes, like a different angle on it is someone will ask me to do something sometime, and I'll be like, no, I'm sorry, I have to work. And they'll be like, well, you're the boss.
Oh, my God.
Why don't you just close the store? Why don't you just have an employee do it?
Oh.
Why don't you? So it's not exactly the same angle.
Right.
But that says to me that they don't take my work seriously. And they don't think that my job is a quote unquote real job.
Right.
And that it's not a big deal if the store closes on a Saturday.
Right.
Or
oh, my God.
Sometimes people get hurt feelings like I must not care enough about them, or I'm always using that same excuse that I have to work. I've heard that before too. Like, you always say that. Yeah, because I'm always working.
Because I have a job. True. Yeah, right. And I think something that is interesting about being your own boss or being a shopkeeper specifically, especially in a place that people want to go out and recreationally shop, is that, you work weekends
Yes.
And you have to pick a day on the weekend to work, really.
Yes.
Because people want to shop on the weekend, and I want them to shop on the weekend too. But that means I'm always going to have to say no to certain plans on certain windows of time on the weekend that someone working a traditional 9 to 5 usually has Saturday and Sundays off. And yeah, it is that idea of like, oh, well, you own the business, so why don't you just close it? I have to buy groceries.
It's because it's my literal income.
It's my income, right? Right. So it's not because I hate you and I don't want to hang out with you on
You're
a
not
Saturday
valuable
morning.
to me as a friend or a family member.
I'm not trying to send any subliminal message most of the time. But
Yeah.
it's really just comes down to, okay, if I'm not open on a Saturday, I'm not going to pay for.
Or if you're paying an additional employee to cover you on
Yeah.
that Saturday, it cuts in.
It cuts
the
in the
same.
bottom line. Right. So it's.
Do you have
interesting.
customers? I think you probably do, considering that the store is named after you. But I have customers who, for some reason, only want to deal with me.
Oh.
I don't know if it's sort of like a weird prestige thing, like, oh, I know the owner.
I want to speak to the owner.
Yeah. But they don't have the same kind of trust in the employees.
Right.
They don't feel as well taken care of by the employees, and sometimes that's just dead wrong. You
For
know,
sure.
I hire people who know more about certain things than me intentionally.
Right.
So you can't just make the presumption that the boss knows
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
Yes, I do have that quite frequently. And the funny thing is, if I'm going to be completely
Do it.
honest,
Do it.
Beth can see the look in my eyes right now. Okay, so if I'm going to be completely honest, there are some customers that insist on speaking to me that my other employees like you better than I like you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I'm going to be honest, and that's not because there's anything wrong with the customer. It's just personality wise. Like, we don't necessarily connect. Yeah, you connect with some people better than others. And it makes me laugh sometimes because there are customers who maybe don't take my employees as seriously as they take me. But my employees connect much better and appreciate their personalities much better than I do. And I just have to chuckle because I'm like, you could be working with someone who really gets you right now, but because you don't want to talk to an employee, you're shorting yourself that experience. Because like you said, I hire people not just on their expertise and their interest in sustainability at Marilla's Mindful Supplies, but also part of our whole mission is to take care of people mindfully, and I do hire with that in mind. I do hire people on the condition of like, okay, how are they going to interact with our customer base, and how do they care about people? So you walk in the door and you're talking to an employee that got hired because they care about you, they want to connect with you, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like, I started in my business as a used and rare book dealer. That is my area of expertise. Long story, we grew into framing. Who do I hire to do the framing? The person with the studio art background, the person with the art history background.
Yeah.
They are literally more qualified than me to talk to you about your art. But for some reason, you're like, no, I will only deal with the owner. I will only do.
Yeah.
I bring that up just as a kind of a callback to why don't you just have an employee do it?
Right.
Because sometimes it's important to the customer to see you or me in our shops.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason, valid or invalid, it doesn't seem the same experience for them if you or I are not there.
Right. And then we hear about it.
Yep.
We hear about it the next time they're
Oh,
in.
nice to see you in your store. Must be nice to be your own boss.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Especially right now, working with the 2 locations, we're feeling the growing pains of that with a few customers.
Oh, you can't be 2 places at once, Marilla?
Yeah, no, can't be 2 places at once. But I think you bringing up the wanting to speak to the owner is a callback to, is it nice to be the boss always? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Let's talk about the ways it is nice to be the boss.
Oh, right.
Because we don't want to be just ragging and grumping
That's
about.
True. We're not grumping. I think it's nice to be the boss because I open at 11 o'clock in the morning. I did make that choice on purpose.
Oh, that must be nice, Marilla.
Oh, it is. I made that choice strategically for business, based on business information, but selfishly, I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't like, 11 would be nice. Then I could get some brunch. I could,
stop by my store because I'm open much earlier.
That's right. Grab a cup of coffee. Yeah, so that's nice. That's something that I like. What about you?
I am grateful that sometimes I can talk back.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't think an employee, even though I have given my employees permission, like if somebody is treating you badly, you don't have to put up with it.
Absolutely.
But still, and thankfully, they hesitate before they curse
somebody out.
Yeah, before they use that power. And I try to hesitate before I use that power. But I don't have to take your crap.
You don't have to hesitate if you don't want to.
And sometimes I don't take crap. And that is...
Yeah.
I think part of that also is just being a grown-ass woman now. You know, like I feel a little bit more empowered generally in my life to stop taking crap. But part of that is also being the boss and knowing that that customer might fire me. That one boss might fire me.
Right.
But I have 47,000 other bosses that are going to keep me on.
That's a perk of the customers being your boss, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. And it's especially a big one for someone as mouthy as me. It really comes in handy because I have definitely, and I'm very thankful for the customers that have stuck around, but there's definitely a couple customers that I have clapped back at, as the kids would say. But yeah, it's because it's my business and I can nip it in the bud if I don't like the way someone's talking or someone's expectations. Like that is a great thing about being your own boss. You can just say, nope, that's not the way we do things around here.
I'm having a little bit of a struggle right now with a customer. And, we did an episode already about breaking up with customers. And I don't think this customer and I are going to break up. I think we're going to be able to work it out. But it is helping me sleep to know, like, if this customer continues to give me a hard time, I can say, don't come back. I don't want to see you again.
Right.
And
that's a warning to all you squirrely customers.
It's just a comfort to me. And of course I want to make every person happy within reason. But if there's someone who seems unreasonable, it's so nice to know that, first of all, my business is mature enough that it doesn't, it's not the sun doesn't rise or set on this one customer.
One person, right?
But also I can do what I want. It's my building. It's literally my building. It's literally my business.
To be the boss.
Also, when I put my little signs up, no snacking in this store. That's a pet peeve of mine because I'm tired of cleaning up your Dorito dust.
Yes.
That's just like,
Cool
I'm going to
Ranch.
put that sign up, and if you're snacking on your Doritos, get out.
Or you could confiscate. It does feel like you're kind of like the sheriff in the Wild West sometimes. You do kind of. And that comes with all the downer things like not having great hours sometimes and not having any benefits.
Not having any vacation, not having any sick
having any
leave.
paid
Not
vacation.
having So let's talk about this then. How do you think you could be a better boss to yourself?
Oh, gosh. How do I think I could be a better boss? Well, I guess you've got me. I admitted that I'm not a perfect boss.
Yeah, now we have to take the next step in the conversation. I asked you that with having no idea how I'm going to answer
you
it myself.
asked it first.
I have no idea.
Listen, you got like 30 seconds. I think I could
I'm
be
just going to copy your answer, whatever it is. Be like, oh yeah, me too, Marilla.
Same goes for me, but double. I think I could be a better boss to myself here's an easy one. Leaving on time. Leaving on time. I stress to my employees that, we agree on a certain amount of hours for them to work. And I don't just expect them to stay later, even if the floor needs to be mopped, even if something needs to be done. Sure, it's nice. Of course you can. I'm not going to yell at you, but I don't expect that from you as an employee.
You want to respect their obligations outside of work.
Exactly.
But you don't always necessarily respect your own obligations outside of work.
Right. And so sometimes I'll be closing at 6 and I don't leave until 8. And no, that's not very often, but I could be a better boss to myself by setting that boundary and being like, if I didn't get it done, it'll be there tomorrow. Because that's what I do for my employees. But for myself, I don't always extend that same grace. So that's one way. And then, I don't know, allowing myself to take a day off every now and again. Sometimes when I take a day off, I still end up working.
Yeah. I'll take a day off, but I'll just do like a big social media thing, or like, I'll just work on the website a little bit.
Which is still work. I know. Or I'll write a blog, or I'm just working in a different place. But I feel like I should be working because it's during these hours, during a weekday. And if I'm not working, then some customer somewhere has a secret camera that sees that I'm not working and might think that I'm lazy.
Your boss.
Yeah, my boss.
Your boss has a secret camera and they're going to know.
So I could be a better boss to myself in that area too, like allowing myself to take a day off. And I'm by no means a workawaholic.
I think for me, I agree with everything you said. Okay, exactly what Marilla said. But
same for me, but double.
But I was just thinking, like, when my employees make a mistake on something, I feel like I know you're doing your best. I know you didn't do that on purpose. I really try to not have them beat themselves up about it. But I will not allow myself that. Like, if I mess up on something,
a good one,
I'm going to be haranguing myself.
Yeah.
Like, how could you possibly? And maybe part of that is that the buck does always stop with you. Like, there's no one to absorb that mistake but you, ultimately.
Right.
But I think that a little bit more patience with myself or forgiveness would be appropriate sometimes.
Yeah, cutting yourself a little more slack.
Yeah, a guilt trip doesn't necessarily, lead to better productivity or not making the same mistake. Next time, it just leads to more stress.
Which as an employer, like in your head, and you exercise that with your employees to the best of your ability.
But I do not do it to myself.
For that one employee that is Beth.
Yeah.
Too bad for Beth.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one to pinpoint, and something that's really easy to do is, and there's a common thread there with mine too, is to, like, when employees will be like, can I have Wednesday off? I look at the schedule and I go, sure, go for it. Have a great time. Enjoy. Don't even think about work.
Yes.
And if I take Wednesday off, I'm thinking about work all day long. And I'm thinking about, okay, is the store going well? If the totals are low, I'm thinking, oh my God, what could, if I was there, should I be there? Yeah. Like, is it slow because I'm not there?
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, Sunday afternoon, I'll still be checking the sales for the day. Yeah. It's like, who cares?
Right.
You can check it tomorrow.
It's your day off. Right. And so I think a common thread there is maybe to just give yourself some mercy and some grace if you are the boss, because it's only nice to be the boss if you're going to be nice to yourself in that arena. And so I think.
So another question for you is when a person says to you next time they say, must be nice to be the boss.
Just like that.
That's how I hear it. That's how I hear it. Whether or not they say it with that tone.
I know.
How might we respond so that we don't hear it that way? Or if they are saying it that way, how might we respond to kind of like educate that without sounding whiny? I just want to be like, yeah, it is. Screw yourself. Maybe that's what I'll say next time.
I feel like now with my personality, I feel like that's pretty appropriate. Maybe lose the screw yourself part.
Oh. I was going to leave out the first part and just go with screw yourself.
And so sometimes it's just as small as like paying myself a week, like physically going through that and doing that. But other times it's paying myself and then using that pay for something nice for me.
Yes.
So giving myself little treats like a boss would if he was like, oh yeah, let's go to lunch. I'm going to take you to lunch, or I'm going to, go to the theater on me, or whatever it might be. If I work for a great boss, I try to give myself treats like that. And then when people say that, instead of prickling, I think of, oh yeah, I took myself to the theater this month. And that was so nice of me as the boss. And it is nice to be the boss. So I try to like build in little treats. And that helps me not prickle. But as far as what to respond with to make them understand,
I don't think maybe they will understand. It might have been an unfair question,
I love that question because I love to make people feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I don't know if they can really understand unless they are the boss, because it always looks very glamorous from the outside. And like I said earlier, you're trying to make it look good.
Right.
You're trying to look like you've got your head on straight and everything's fine and there's no problems and you're like I said, succeeding in business. So maybe they just wouldn't get it unless they actually were their own boss. And I think any boss can relate to this, whether you're a dentist or whether you own a garage or, whatever it is. If the buck stops with you, you can relate to this.
Right. Right. I don't know. I do like putting people on the spot. So I can't promise that I'm not going to make them feel. But
screw you was unacceptable to you. Why? You want to be more covert in your like.
I don't know, Beth. Maybe. I don't know. Screw you works in a pinch. I'll
keep it in your back pocket.
I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. But I think there's any number of things that'd be like, yeah. And sometimes I'll even have conversations with customers like this. I will be clearly having a very busy day and they can see that I'm like just running hard and sweating and keeping up with everything. And they're like, oh man, you're super busy. And I'll say, yeah, my boss, my boss really works me hard. And we have a moment to laugh about that, but it helps them to kind of understand that when it's hopping and things are crazy, I mean, my boss is working me really hard and that's me. And so it kind of flips that narrative of like being the boss is out golfing and eating shrimp cocktails, being the boss is also sweating and
and I wouldn't want it any other way, and I know you wouldn't either. And just to circle back to, like, I think this is maybe why I get so uncomfortable in this topic, because it is nice to be the boss, and I never want to sound like ungrateful for that, and I never want to, I don't know, be blind to my own privilege.
Right. But at the same time, I think it's important, like, if you're listening to this and this is resonating with you, I think it's okay to communicate to that person the hard parts of it. And there's, I think, ways to do that isn't saying screw you, that not to keep bringing that up. Beth
so
tells
fun
her
to say, though,
customers,
isn't
screw
it?
you. No.
never
saying-
have. That's why I can't let it go, because I want to sometimes.
You could tell me that one day.
Okay.
All right.
It won't feel the same.
All right. But I guess all I'm rambling about is that, you know, it is a privilege. It's okay to feel like two things at once. It's a privilege to be your own boss, and it's great to be your own boss. It is nice to be the boss. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's really hard to be the boss. And it's a lot of pressure to be the boss. And it's a lot of people depending on you to be the boss. And so I think that those things exist simultaneously every time that's brought up.
And when someone says must be nice to be the boss in kind of a smart, snarky or demeaning way, I think what it does is it undermines everything else that it means to be the boss. Right? That's what the hurt is.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to be the boss, but you don't know what I give up and what I sacrifice and how hard I work to be the boss.
Yeah.
All you see is the privilege, and you're just completely ignoring that I've earned this and I earn it every day.
Yeah. And that very much comes through. Like, ever since my husband and I got married, we've made a point to go and travel for, like, I don't know, it's not always once a year, but we try to do something once a year in theory. And usually we try to do it more than 10 days. Sometimes it's 10 days, sometimes it's 14 days, but we build that into our schedule. And we've been doing that since we were just barely out of our teenage years. So we've never traveled on a huge budget with a lot of privilege, like, and spendy habits. But I find around, if we carve that time out and we take that trip leading up to it, you have to tell customers. Sometimes I've closed, sometimes I have people cover for me. And we get a lot of that because it's like, oh, you're going on a trip. You must be really wealthy now, and you must be, like, really enjoying the gravy of this business. And it's not the case. It's a sacrifice. Even though it's travel and we're enjoying it, it's vacation. We just are deciding to say goodbye to that income for a couple weeks so that we can go and spend time with each other. And again, I'm not saying that travel is a sacrifice, like, it's so hard, but it's that two things can exist at one time. And
right, you can give yourself the luxury of a vacation, which, by the way, shouldn't be a luxury.
Right.
You know,
right.
2 weeks of vacation should not be seen as an unreasonable ask.
Right. For so many jobs, that's a given.
Yeah, and it's sometimes paid even, you know? I hear you justifying taking 2 weeks.
Yes.
And I would feel the exact same way. And I also want to be like, you guys, just because Marilla's taking 2 weeks of vacation doesn't mean that she's a spoiled little princess. You know,
Please keep shopping at her store.
Forgive her for taking some time for herself and her husband.
Yeah.
They're not being extravagant.
Yeah, right. You know? That's how it feels.
Where it feels like you have to justify it.
Yeah.
I understand. And you have to justify it by saying, but it's...
Yeah, but we saved for this. Yeah, but... Which, mind you, we're doing that to ourselves in a big way. But I think little comments, like, through our careers kind of cement that kind of thinking. And I want to work away from that. I really do. But yeah, this prompt makes me think of those moments.
Of course.
And
this guilt you feel for...
And I don't want to feel guilty about that. I should, like you said, I should.
It's because your boss is an asshole, Marilla. Your boss won't give you the time off.
Yeah, right. Right. So my goal is to be less
Okay,
of
your
an
boss isn't really an asshole. I didn't mean that for you to take it
That's
personally.
okay, Beth. Screw you. No. Oh, no. I beat you to it. I couldn't help myself.
Well played.
So what's the moral of
what's
this?
the
It must
summary?
be nice to be the boss.
No, it is nice to be the boss. Everybody who's ever heard that probably feels a little yucky about it. We feel your pain.
Yes.
We also feel a little yucky about that statement. I think you made some good points in terms of like, yeah, we can hold the benefits and the perks and the luxuries of being the boss side by side with what it takes to earn that luxury or that
Earn
privilege.
that luxury. And to know that, sometimes if you are really prickling at that statement, sometimes it can help to look at your boss in the mirror and ask yourself, how can I be a better boss to that person in the mirror? Because that does help. That does help.
Yeah, it's not going to rub you so wrong if your boss is kind to you.
Yes. So be kind
To your boss.
Your boss.
And
cut.
okay.
Cut.
I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds like a plan.
We chat about the biz, it is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or on tyfupod.com. Our theme song was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
We could touch on my grand opening and how amazingly successful it was.
Why not?
No, I don't want to jinx anything.